now, and I am, you all notice this is being recorded. So for those who have just joined us, welcome to our Mindful Minute Conversation series. Again, this is being recorded and we are on Facebook Live. So thank you for everyone who joined us. If you're on Facebook, please feel free to share. You can share this on Facebook so other people can join this conversation. For those who have just joined, probably the way I'll handle it is I am going to make sure that all the mics are muted other than our panelists. So please stay muted, and I am also going to only make sure, so if you don't mind turning off your cameras, but for those who have your cameras on, we are glad that you joined, and maybe when we have some other questions and answers, we can maybe come on, but for now, just so folks can kind of see our panelists, thank you all so very much for that. Thank you for joining the conversation. So welcome to the Arkansas Association of Black Psychology Professionals. This is our Mindful Minute Conversation series. And so we've been doing this since about May 2020 because we wanted to start this conversation with the community and helping giving practical tools for navigating all of what's going on. There's a lot going on in our state. I think we were just talking about that the kids, a lot of the kids probably definitely in Central Arkansas are virtual. Everybody's trying to figure out how to manage it. Tell y'all see your face, you're like, yes. Yeah. Everybody's trying to manage it like, oh my gosh, how can I manage my life with it? So that's why we want to support people. There's a lot going on right now. Right, is a lot that we're dealing with. So how can we navigate not only the stressors of COVID, but also what's going on with navigating racism and everything with that? It's just layers of stress that people are dealing with, layers of just stuff going on in people's lives. So we've been wanting to have conversations where we talk about it and give people practical tools for really being able to navigate it and deal with all of what's going on. So with our today's conversation is about restoring the mind and body through meditation, music, and yoga. So that's what we're talking about today, restoring the mind and body. But if we could start with that first part, why is restoration important, right? If we could talk about what does it mean to even restore the mind and body? What does that mean? How could that be beneficial? Courtney, if you can start us off.
Sure. So to me, that really means finding peace within yourself, which is hard to do in such a chaotic world. So part of what I'll be talking about are tools that you can use to be able to do that. But restoration is so important. Taking time away from the day-to-day busy activities that you have and really stealing time for yourself, whether that means you're taking a long bath or maybe you get to leave the house without the kids, or simply go into a room and just sit and it's quiet. There are a number of things that you can do. So those are great places to start.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for that, Courtney. I like how you said peace and quiet. I'm kind of taking out some of those words, peace and quiet. So before I do this is what I failed to do so folks know who we are. I said we're the Arkansas Association of Black Psychology Professionals. My name is Dr. Kyla Holmes. I am a psychologist and I work with kiddos, and I'm the vice president of the association. We have Dr. Courtney Crutchfield, who received an undergraduate at the University of Memphis in psychology. She has a master's degree, a doctorate. She received that in counseling psychology from Tennessee State University. She's worked as a clinical psychologist, very active in education, mentorship, leadership, and other scholarly activities, working with trainees. She currently holds a position at the psychotherapy program as the psychotherapy program chief in the mental health clinic at the Central Arkansas Veterans Healthcare System. Dr. Crutchfield is responsible for planning and directing the implementation of evidence-based programs related to therapy, and she also works throughout the VA system. She is also working in the VA in their community-based outpatient clinic. Got that right? Community-based outpatient clinic. And she does professional supervision. She works with social workers, psychologists, licensed family therapists, and occupational therapists. She also works part-time at Riverstone Wellness Center as a licensed clinical psychologist and specializes in women's issues, trauma-informed care, and depression. So I always say she qualified to talk to us tonight. She qualified to talk to us. And then we also have Tanya Cross-Tweedy, who's with us. She practices holistic mental health and is a yoga therapist. This approach encourages clients to see themselves as an ecosystem or having interactive parts. The goal is to find alignment between sensation, feeling, and thought. through the use of breath, applied mindfulness, guided meditation, relationship and connection to the body. She processes and reprocesses pain patterns. So she's qualified in all kind of trauma-informed work that she does, sensory, psychosensory motor therapy, yoga therapy, all kinds of stuff to help people who's going through stuff. I actually just been getting to know Tanya recently, very qualified to talk about these things, very knowledgeable, excellent clinician, excellent person to provide education, and been knowing Courtney for years, since the organization started. So you've been connected with our organization for a while as well. So I apologize for skipping over that in the beginning. These ladies are here on the panel, experts in these areas, and very qualified to talk to us about how to restore the mind and body. So Tanya, Courtney has already talked to us about peace and quiet and the importance of getting that in the midst of really chaos and stress that we deal with. What's your thoughts about that, about what it means, the need to restore our bodies and mind, and what that means to do that?
Well, our body has just a natural rhythm and pattern that it has. So the goal is to reset, just like you would if you were in nature or anywhere else. So I always think of grounding. How do you get back, reset, and connect with what's a natural resource, what's inside of us, our inner wisdom. So basically just that same connection, rhythm, pattern, learning how to listen to your inner voice and knowing when to say no.
I love that, when to say no. How would somebody know that they need to reset, connect, find peace or quiet? How would they know, like, what could be some signs or indicator that restoration is needed?
When they're struggling to sleep, when I always look at rest and digest. So are you resting, and what is your diet like? Can you tell me what your self-care looks like? Do you rest? Those are some of my top ones there, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Courtney, what are your thoughts? How do people know when they need that?
I would say if they start noticing a change in their body, heart rhythm, or maybe even having tightness of chest, because they're extremely anxious, having difficulty functioning on a day-to-day basis, getting out of bed, fulfilling daily functions. Those are also some indicators that something else is going on.
Are you going to add something, Tanya?
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I love that, because it seems like what you all are saying, if there's changes in the body or somebody's not sleeping well, that maybe something is depleted. Their energy, their peace, there's something going on to let them know that somewhere in your body and in your mind, something is being depleted, or something is not off balance, something is off balance or not connected the way it needs to be for ideal health. So you're saying, hey, this is a time to say you're not sleeping well, some changes are occurring, it's time for some restoration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start with meditation. How is it that, let's talk about, first of all, what is meditation? People have been using that word and talk about it. What really is meditation, Courtney?
So that is a great question. And I think it still goes back to part of what we just said. Meditation is really finding an activity similar to grounding, all of those things, that really helps for you still get back to that place of peace. I just love that part of it. So it can also, the function of it is to help calm your body and calm your mind, is a part of the function of meditation. So finding a way, learning tools that can allow you that period of time, whether brief or long, to be able to really calm yourself and get centered. Oftentimes, like you said, the world is so chaotic. It's very hard to just be and sit still, to even give yourself an opportunity to meditate. And so that's kind of the definition of meditation. And part of what comes with that is breathing exercises, also doing mindfulness, which there are a lot of exercises that one can pick up even off of the internet that are actually pretty good. And And then grounding is also a function of meditation.
Okay. And all right, because I know both of you all use the word grounding. So when we say grounding, I may kind of pull on Tanya here a little bit. When we say
Absolutely.
grounding, what do we mean by grounding? And what could that look like? Like, yeah, if you could just elaborate on that. Yeah.
Sure. So grounding can look very different. I'm sorry.
Whoever wants to, but go ahead, Courtney, and then Tanya after that, if you could just go ahead after she's
okay. So grounding can look a number of different ways. Oftentimes when one is practicing grounding, the people around you may not even know that is what you're doing. Okay. So one can be as simple as having, say, a rock in your pocket or having a picture in your pocket. And this is something that you will rub on while it's in your pocket, just to kind of remind you of where you are, who you are. Because again, sometimes when we're daydreaming, we get lost in that. Another form is simply count different things in your room. So whether it's counting the number of windows that you have, counting the towels on the floor, counting the number of people in the room. And you're doing all of this to yourself. So again, you're present and you're able to remain present in the space that you are in. And sometimes you need this grounding in order to be able to interact with others, because you may feel overwhelmed, especially now with COVID. I know a lot of people feel overwhelmed to be around a number of people. So that's also part of it.
Excellent. Yeah, Tanya.
I typically will explain grounding it in two ways. One, you have to be able to center before you can ground, and centering is just an awareness that there's too much energy or not enough energy in the body. So either you can be too high or too low, and what you're looking for is just that middle of the road. Centering, just simply doing that body scan where you're noticing if there's energy in certain places. I will ask people to literally breathe in, but act as if you're breathing from the bottom of your feet, and you inhale all the way up to the crown of the head. Then hold the breath, exhale. So it's literally to bring you back into the present moment, to orient yourself to the surroundings. So if you're what you see, what you hear, what you touch, and we typically do that little triad because that is that connects you to your limbic system, is where you're going to be feeling all of those feelings, right? So what you hear, what you see, what you feel will connect you back into your present moment, and hopefully get you in between not being too aroused and not being too numb. So it's looking for just that balance.
I love it. I'm just going to highlight a few words that both of you all say. Both of you all talked about the importance of the present. So is that a big key in grounding when people are feeling overwhelmed, they don't feel at peace, they can't sleep, they can't do this? If they do a grounding exercise, it sounds like both of you are saying, let's get in the present. Like don't get too far what's going on in the future, outside, at work, get right here in the present. Focus on what's going on in your body. You all said centering. I like how you said, Courtney, reminding you of who you are, and it sounds like where you are. Really get connected with yourself.
Right.
Am I saying that? Okay.
You are saying that correctly. Because oftentimes when, like she described, we're too high, we're too low, we really aren't paying attention to the moments and the things that are happening around you. We could also be thinking back to 5 days ago or 10 days ago, whatever it may be. So yes, coming back to the present just reminds you those things may be back there, but I need to be right here so that I can be a part of this moment and really be able to take in the things that are happening in this moment.
Okay, so it's a lot about the present moment. So if somebody's wondering how can they restore their mind and body through meditation, you all are saying that one aspect of that are these grounding techniques. Yes. If you have anything that you can touch, that you can listen to, that you can see, anything like that can get you connected with the current moment. You're not thinking about the past, not the future, right there in that moment, to remind yourself of where you are, get yourself oriented, like you said, to the present. then that's a way of like meditating or like getting themselves grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there different objects? You mentioned, Courtney, like maybe rocks that people could use to feel. Any other items or objects that people could use to help with that?
Something that's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that may be, that can fit in your pocket, having that will help you stay connected.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes people can completely come outside of themselves, is how I like to say it, and not be present and kind of forgetting the function of self and what I'm doing in this place. So what that does is just bring you back to be able to come back to the present time.
Yeah.
So definitely, and even you know, both of you all mentioned the body scan, or you know, tapping into your 5 senses. That's also a part of not just grounding, but also meditation, and mindfulness. Because again, that's a mindfulness technique that you can use in imagining things around you. Now, this is something that you can do with your eyes closed, where you're thinking back to a time or place that was a good moment, whether it's maybe your grandmother's house, who is no longer with us, or vacation that you had. But being able to kind of take yourself back to that moment. So part of that includes the breathing, deep breathing in and out, to just try to, again, calm yourself, settle yourself. And then thinking about that special place, whatever it may be for you, and tapping into what is it that you see? What do you smell? What can you touch? And oftentimes what this exercise does is really allow you to be in that place, in that moment. And part of that is because you are following a guide. You are listening to, okay, take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out. And there is this assistance of something that's already written out. You aren't trying to remember or figure it out, but somebody's talking it through with you. So being able to do that and then bringing yourself out of it, so that you can be back in the present.
Yeah, okay. I love that. So it sounds like it could be something that people have, like an object that they can feel or see or smell, or something that can fit in their pocket. Because that's great. Because sometimes people are on the go. So if it's not something, so it could be helpful if they can have it at work, at school, or something like that, in the car. But you're also saying we always can use our imaginations. So they can imagine it in their mind, and then visualize it maybe in their mind, and then that can be helpful too.
Yes.
Like, okay, Tanya, other thoughts, something that people will say, hey, I want to try this meditation mindfulness thing. They say they want to try it tomorrow. They will try it. What are some other thoughts, some suggestions?
Sometimes I'll say using just your hands, like counting your fingers, or even rubbing your hands together. The idea is to get the left and the right side of your brain functioning and working together again. So right side of the brain, those sensations and feelings and textures, where the left is our logic. So getting both working at the same time is a great way of doing that, is actually doing bilateral work, moving the hands, or left, right, anything that gets the body to function as a whole again. I like counting. I also like, these are my hands, these are my feet. It also helps interrupt your flow of thoughts, especially if you're having racing thoughts, or you're focused on that particular thing that's triggering you. So beginning to count, if it's 1, 2, 3, if it's colors, whatever it is, so that that space is filled. That's what I'll say.
Okay, excellent. So, so when you're saying counting, do you mean like people actually like counting certain objects, or just counting in their head?
You can count in your head, or you're counting your fingers, or how many times you're rubbing. I like counting with breath too. So inhaling 26, exhaling 26, inhaling 25, exhaling 25, inhale. So just the counting part allows for a little bit of a rest between whatever those racing thoughts are. It allows you to habituate to whatever it is and gate a certain thing and just stay on that particular thing, which sometimes is difficult when you are when you're triggered or you're not in the present moment. You're thinking and looking at everything. So this makes your world smaller. It slows everything down. It filters so that you can come back down and find that space that you need.
Yeah. So that's a good point. It seems like what you're talking about there, Tanya, that's if somebody is already, let's say they're worked up, they're stirred up, they're on edge, they feel super anxious and bouncy and restless, or however that's kind of coming out for them. So you're saying if they're real up like that, like with anxiety and a bunch of feelings, one of the things that could bring that down is to make their world smaller, do some counting, look, and that can kind of calm them down and help to get restored in their body. That's good. So is this something, what we're talking about with meditation, is this something you feel like is just useful in those moments? Or can people do meditation and mindfulness? Could that be helpful even if people aren't worked up?
Yes, it can be done every morning when you wake up or in the car on your way to work. It can be done every day. Even if you are calm and it's a good day, you can still meditate, and that would be more so you reflecting on the day or reflecting on how you are feeling in that moment. It's like a check-in that you do with yourself.
Okay. So it seems like you're saying there's some benefits to check in with ourselves. Even if we feel like everything is going all right, let's still check in to see how our body is feeling. How's my day going so far? And just do a check-in with ourselves either way.
Right. And
I think our mind naturally goes to the negative. I mean, what our brain is set up to keep us safe. So we're going to assess for danger, evaluate, predict, and make a decision. So if you can actually connect to that part of you and come from a different place, it just helps reset you. Whoever you are, we automatically have a tendency to weigh the odds, to think of what the possibility of something happening bad. So if you come from a place of compassion, if you come from a place of love, it resets that. It gives you that evenness.
Yeah. Go ahead, Courtney. Were you going to add something else too? I love it. Yeah.
Yes, but I lost it. So it may come back.
Okay.
But that was excellent. So mine didn't touch what she said.
Yeah, no. If it comes back, let us know. But yeah, I love that how you're bringing in compassion and love, because it was one I guess a mindfulness strategy that I really like, that I read about it in a book, and I've heard people talk about it, where they talk about this idea of loving kindness kind of meditation, this idea of really taking time out to say, even if you think about it towards yourself, that I wish myself, or however it is we think about it, I extend kindness to myself, peace and health, even doing that for other people. Is that something that you encourage people to do sometimes, to meditate on that, either love and compassion towards themselves and others? How do you all talk to people about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of when talking about that piece of it, it's even congratulating your body for being so good to you that day, not having any aches, any pains, being able to walk, whatever it may be for you, but just being able to be thankful. And so part of that goes back to that compassion piece, because there could have been a day where you were having difficulty walking, or you feel like your body failed you, which is sometimes how we feel when we're sick, or if we're depressed. If we have a physical ailment, we really feel like, oh, my body is doing this to me. So again, going back to that place of being thankful for whatever it is that your body can do, to kind of remind yourself, okay, things aren't as bad as I think. Let me revisit this, and again, coming from a compassionate place.
I'm just kind of pausing if Tanya, you wanted to add anything, if anything kind of came to you.
I love that. There's a Hawaiian little chant that we'll do, or affirmation that I love. And it's, you do it towards yourself, and it's, thank you, please forgive me, I'll keep trying, and I think I'm off a little bit, but just to repeat that almost as an affirmation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And somebody has kind of commented here that according to what you all are both describing, this idea of self-affirmations, and we're talking about self-affirmations in gratitude. Yeah. So that's something, it sounds like that could be very helpful under the umbrella, I guess, of mindfulness and meditation. This idea of just taking time out to affirm ourselves, to be grateful for things, that's going on in our own lives and our own bodies, and then that's going on around us, that could be an aspect of that as well.
And I encourage people to put their affirmations on their bathroom mirror. So it's something that they see every day.
Absolutely.
Whether that means you got to put a sticky note on the mirror or literally write it out on the mirror. It's just a reminder, because sometimes we forget in the rush of things. So that allows you to take 60 seconds to just, okay, let me remember that today, in order to be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. So I just love this conversation, because it's like we're talking about a range of ways to practice meditation, because I'm hearing you all say, hey, there's ways to get yourself centered and in the moment when you're having big emotions, really anxious, really sad, maybe even really angry, just dealing with a lot. There's some things you can do in that moment to kind of get yourself back balanced and regulated and calm, and even just every day, because it's affirmations. This is like, even if we're not feeling like there's a lot going on, there could be some benefit from being thankful and being grateful and writing things out, so we can see it every day, that is something beneficial and healthy about just getting into a practice, everyday routine where it's a practice of doing this. Okay, I love it. I think it's time to shift now to yoga, because other folks are coming on. They might say, I want to hear about yoga and music. What are they going to say about that? So, yeah, right? Because I'm reading this in this bio, and they're like a yoga therapist and all this other stuff. If you could tell us sometime, what is yoga therapy? Help us to understand, what is yoga therapy? How does it help to restore the mind and body?
So I specialize just in the mental health part of it, but so yoga therapy can encompass occupational or physical parts also. But from a mental health perspective, it's simply a way to regulate the body. The routine parts of we call them asanas. So if you're doing yoga and it's a movement session or a movement practice, then you get used to what's coming first, what's coming second, what's coming third. And a lot of times routine helps us to ground. It helps us to calm. We know what's coming. So it's a wonderful way of teaching your body to stay within that level of being okay, not too high, not too low, but just right in the middle. The meditation part, just even in yoga, will also help keep us embodied. A lot of times we will numb out or zone out or go somewhere else. A lot of people will say, well, I don't really like yoga because you're having to do all of these things. Well, whether you're doing yoga or any type of physical exercise, you do want to pair it to your breath. So if you inhale, you're extending your arms out. Exhale, bring the arms down. So you're literally connecting that mind-body experience. We want that in everything we do. We need to be able to think and feel at the same time. So this reinforces the idea of that. It decreases injury. It increases our ability to be present in our daily experiences.
Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, I think somebody actually just asked this question that I was going to ask. Perfect. So, because they're asking, how can somebody get started, right? Like if they've never done this before, because people may have different ideas of what yoga is. Now, I'm just going to put it out there. They might say, I'm just going to say it this way, y'all. This is not representative of our organization. This is representative of Kyla. People may say yoga is that white folk stuff, right? Yoga is, they may think about it as maybe something that doesn't feel Christian for some people, right? And so it may be all these things. So if you could help us, for people that don't want to get into parts of it that feel like it's not consistent with their identity, but they just want to get some of the benefits and they want to know where to get started. Really, how can somebody get started? Let's a step one.
So one, yoga is a philosophy. A
Okay.
lot of people tie it to Hinduism or Buddhism, but it isn't. It's just a philosophical way of living your life. And that's just being balanced. Yoga means yoked. So mind, body integration. And how do you connect with just what's going on inside? Because of COVID, you can always check YouTube or video. I like in-person studio practices because you're learning the postures. The thing about that is this, the only reason we do the postures in yoga is to connect to the mind. So it is literally to release all of the energy, to be able to ground, to be able to know where your body is in space, which is an orientation element and helps with also decreasing anxiety. So a basic beginner class. We have lots of studios that you can actually attend, or just watching a video. Either way, at least gets you started. So
yeah, what could they Google if they're trying to go on YouTube? Say, let me see about this. What would they put in there? Do they need to just put yoga?
Beginning yoga, just a beginning yoga class. I would do a 15-minute class just to get an idea of what it feels like. You don't have to be bendy. You don't have to be stretchy. It's none of that. It is simply being able to feel your body. It's as much as inhaling, taking your hands to the sky, exhaling, bring them to your heart. There's chair yoga. There is power yoga. There are so many different types of yoga that you can do depending on what you're looking for in terms of just regulation, or if it's the physical part of it.
Okay, so they can do chair yoga. If somebody say, I don't want to get down on that floor and have to get back up, and so they can maybe Google, well, I say Google, but get on YouTube, chair yoga beginning, and they could find something that's just more, is that more just their arms?
Actually, you're getting a pretty good full body workout if you're doing even chair yoga, as you're turning, or you are taking a leg over the left leg over the right leg, turning the body to the left, the right, maybe taking your chest to your knees. In all of those things, you're going to try to incorporate the entire body. It's just in more of a seated position.
Okay. I think that's great. So you're helping me to understand something. So you said yoga, when you say yoked, you're just saying this is basically a way to get people in touch with their mind and body. Yes. Connect what's going on with our mind and with our body, connecting that. That's basically some things that go on with yoga. We don't have to connect with anything that we think is like Hinduism.
No.
We're like, hey, okay, got you.
And in fact, it's literally hitting every part of your neuroanatomy. So it's from being able to balance, knowing where your proprioceptive, knowing where your body is in space. So if you're actually doing a more active yoga sequence, if you are jumping from the front of your mat to the top of your mat, then that's the vestibular part, knowing where to jump and how much space. If you're having to balance, knowing how much weight to put on one leg and not put on one leg. So it's literally learning and connecting more with your body. One of the first things I do with individuals who've gone through any type of traumatic experience is whole body work. The first thing that happens if you're triggered, is that all of your blood goes to your organs. So being able to get you to extend all the way out to the end of your fingers and feel your toes and move them are all ways of regulating your system. So it literally is more of a way of connecting and embodying.
I love that, because I don't know how often we think about our fingers and toes and what they feel like. So you're like, get us to connect with all of it, to really get in our body and feel it. And it's something about that, it seems like you're saying, is beneficial. Yes. If we pay attention to what is it our toes are feeling like, our fingers, pay attention to all of that, breathe, pay attention, and that somehow can be healing and helpful for us.
Exactly. Most of us don't actually breathe the correct way. We talk about grounding, but literally you're supposed to, if you visualize your lungs, you breathe from the bottom of your lungs up. Inhale, exhale, down, so that your shoulders shouldn't be moving, they should be away from your ears.
Okay. I love it. That's gonna have me think more about that. See, how am I breathing? What's going on? Yeah. Excellent. I wonder, should we shift to music? Because I love listening to music. So to me, that's just a part of my everyday. I always have my phone listening to music, something is going on throughout the day. But are there other ways that you all recommend or you all use music a little more therapeutically or strategically in your work that you do?
That's a definite you
Okay.
question. I use music therapeutically for myself, not necessarily for my client.
Okay. I like using music. I do something called a yoga nidra, and it's a way of relaxing. It's a meditation. It's a guided visual meditation. So if I were doing something like this, you can listen to these too. YouTube is a beautiful resource. So if you actually look up yoga nidras on YouTube, it's a way.
You might have to spell that for us. Hold on. You might have to spell it. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me. I'm gonna go to the chat, and then I'm gonna put it in the chat. Yoga and
nidra, Nidra.
Nidra. So people will see that.
Yes.
Okay, you said people can go to YouTube.
You can go to
yoga
YouTube
and then Nidra, Nidra. And
yes.
Okay.
So if you're doing something like this, the goal is to get the body into rest. Beautiful thing when you don't know exactly what's wrong, you just know that you're feeling on edge, so there's not any language. So I do a lot of somatic work where you don't necessarily have to talk about what's going on. Rather, it is based on being diagnosed and having a disorder or not. It's still a wonderful way of connecting with your body. If you are anxious or on edge, we'll say that you're probably in what's called beta, that anxious part, right? So if we're going to start off, we may start off with something around alpha, and those are just brain waves. But if you again go on YouTube, there's something called binaural beats, and it's a two-tone sound, and what it does is brain entrainment. It gets the brain to a place of calm. So using different tones and music can help decrease just our brain being on edge, or sometimes we'll call it monkey brain, or the opposite, where you're not remembering or hearing or even present in your conversations. Just kind of help either bring you up or down to help you just find again that natural middle of the road place. So during a yoga nidra, we will work through beta, we'll work through alpha, we'll work through even getting you into delta. So the Sanskrit, or the direct translation of nidra is asleep, but it's a being present and sleeping, so that you learn how to, from an ecosystem, your body being made of all of these parts, working parts that work together, you learn how to be connected and integrated.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's a lot going on. I'm trying to take it all in. You see, they're trying to take it all in there. So now if people want to do, well, first, let me ask you to repeat one thing that you said. You said that it was the tones that go back and forth. I'd imagine when it was a by somewhere you said.
It's the binaural beats, and it's BINAURAL.
Beats. Okay, I'm going to put that. Okay, so people can put that in YouTube and then bring that up. And it's something about the way the tones kind of go back and forth, like
that left to right ear.
Right. Okay, that's helpful to them. So they can put that in there. Now, if for some reason people have a hard time remembering that or finding that, is there any kind of music that just we tend to listen to on a day-to-day basis that could kind of, I know this is maybe a hard question, I don't even know the answer, but could give that similar effect? Like if it's like music with a bunch of instruments or classical music, like is it something that gives a similar effect that people use sometimes?
Depending on what you want. So like with my children, I will use classical music, which is great for attention and concentration. I will also use songs that have a distinct beat, rhythm, and pattern that will also help people who get stuck in their thoughts. So if you want something that helps someone get unstuck, you can do that with music too. That usually pop music will have that beat, so a good example would be the Pink Panther song, that is a beat that helps carry you through being stuck cognitively too. So things that help with bilateral integration, like if you're writing or have trouble writing, are also songs that have that beat, that up and down, up and down. Anything that is more of a guitar or drumming sound, or maybe jazz, helps with grounding, bringing you down more.
Okay. All right. So for those of us that may like classical music, jazz, like keep listening to it. That's good. That's good. I know, Courtney, you said that you listen to music for yourself, which I do. So what kind of, if you don't mind sharing, what kind of music do you like to listen to that's like that does it for you, that keeps you kind of in that middle place?
90s music.
90s.
So some of what I grew up on and like what I remember from high school. But when I think about some of the artists, 112, Casey and JoJo.
There you go.
Also thinking about Missy Elliott. She has definitely won those beats.
Yeah, she does have beats.
And I would say Usher, old Usher. I like that. Yes, that music.
Yeah.
It's a little different now, but along those lines. So I will say I also enjoy rap music, but rap music is usually not therapeutic. It's just, I like the beat. Half the time I don't know the words, but the beat is what I like, and that's what I follow. And I would say like Guy and New Edition, you know, for me, it's listening to the words, which causes me to have to pay attention. Because if I'm really listening to the words that they're saying, then that also requires me to think a little bit. Because I think oftentimes what happens, and I know definitely happens for me, I'll listen to music and I don't have a sliced idea what the song was about. Because I wasn't listening for the words. But to actually sit and listen to the words, that brings about a different type of change, I would say.
Yeah, because I wonder if we could even connect that to our conversation about meditation, right? Because in the beginning, we were talking about how these different strategies can help people to just get grounded, get focused. So I wonder if people almost like meditate with music, right? To where people really get into the instruments, especially if they can turn it up loud, you know, like to really get into it. And it's almost like some people like to even feel it in their body, what you're talking about, Tanya, like you can feel the music, feel the instruments, and feel the words. And I wonder if that by itself can even help people be in the moment. Do you all kind of do that? Maybe I'll kind of direct this at you, Tanya, when you're helping this. Do you find it with some people that you work with, the music does help them to be in that moment more, to not be so focused on what happened 5 days ago or what they're worrying about in the future, that kind of helps them to sort of even get grounded?
Now, I've not used popular music that way. It'll typically will be something like a binaural beat. So I've done that. I'm not sure about just regular music, but I do know that typical music is tuned to about a 435, hertz, which is that alpha being kind of right connected middle of the road. So I suspect that it most likely has some of the same effects depending on what you're looking for.
Okay, but that's really interesting though, because it's right, like some maybe just kind of mainstream music could maybe do it, because it sounds like when you're talking Courtney, you say 90, some of that might be connected, and I could think about that too, connected with other memories and other things that bring up.
Correct.
It may be like, maybe is it more kind of the memory and the feeling that it gives us?
Yes.
That's really kind of part of it too, which is great, right? I love that.
Yes.
And it
I just call that a resource, rather it is a musical resource or just something that takes you back to a time that brings up pleasant emotions or a felt sense in your body. I will do the same thing with aromas as well. So a particular scent, if it's ginger or we've just got Christmas, cinnamon, any of those things may bring up something that is familiar, that just puts you in a really good mood. So any of those things can help because you're connecting to your senses,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought in the aroma. So you're kind of saying it's things that we can listen to and even touch. I have some parents that talk about, like with their kids, I have the parent of a teenager that said that her daughter loved a certain blanket when she was young, would take it everywhere. And her daughter's a teenager now, and they figured out a way to redo that blanket. They found it, and she likes it even now. But it's something about the touch of it, and she finds her touching it and really working with the texture of it. And it's something about that's soothing to her even now. You know, so I like how you're talking about the senses. Music can do that to connect us with memories and bring up good feelings, and aromas and stuff like that. I know some things probably can remind us of grandmother's kitchen or something like that. That could really, really bring us to a good place to focus on. Okay, that's great. That's great. Now I'm going to say something. It's going to kind of it may put you on the spot a little bit, but I think I'm going to do it anyway. Whoever wants to do this, I wonder, we've not done this before, but it just came to me to do it. If either one of you all, or even both of you all, wants to guide us in some sort of meditation, mindfulness, some kind of breathing exercise, something, and to give us practice that. I see y'all faces, y'all like,
And I'm looking at her like, okay.
Yeah, I know. For those who are listening, I did not give them a heads up about this. But you were talking earlier really about breath work. Tanya, you were talking about that. And I know, Courtney, you were talking about some mindfulness with counting and certain things like that. But I really was thinking about the breathing. Because like you said, a lot of times we might not know when we need to get more control over our breathing and pace our breathing. What does it really mean to just breathe in ways that could help us to calm or be regulating or help to balance us? So even if it's just a breathing technique kind of thing.
Okay, I will. I can do that, I think.
You can do what you think. And if anybody wants to turn their camera on and do it all together, feel free. You don't have to turn your camera on, but if you want to turn your camera on and do this breathing with us, feel free to do that.
So if you're sitting in a chair, just sit so your feet are on the floor and press into your toes and your heels. Just getting aware of your feet, bringing your feet into awareness. And on the next inhale, press into your feet. Inhale as if you're inhaling from the bottom of your feet, all the way up the front of the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way up to the crown. At the top of the inhale, hold the breath. And then slowly exhale. And we're going to do that again. Inhale from the bottom of the feet, all the way up to the crown of the head. At the top of the inhale, hold the breath. And then exhale from the crown of the head, all the way back down to the sole of the feet. And we're going to add on. So inhaling again. The top of the inhale, hold. And on the exhale, draw the shoulders down your back. Relax the tongue. Unfurl the brow. Unclench your jaw. And relax or soften. Once more, inhaling from the bottom of the feet, all the way up to the crown of the head. Feel the breath as it moves through the body and expands through the chest. The top of the inhale, hold. And as you exhale, think soft, allowing the shoulders to rest, allowing the pelvic floor to rest. And this time before you breathe in, ask the brain to ask the body for permission to find rest. So inhaling again. And then exhale, releasing anything that doesn't serve you. Taking one hand to chest and one hand to belly. Inhaling once more. This time as you inhale, think about depositing that energy right into the back of the heart. And then exhale that energy of compassion through the body. And when you're ready, just simply allow the hand to relax in the lap. If your eyes are closed, begin to blink the eyes open. Was okay?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one thing that I've noticed, because sometimes when people do mindfulness, sometimes I do ask people, just like you said, just asking about it, what did they feel like? What was it? Sometimes I've heard people say they don't like to close their eyes. when they breathe, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Help me to understand what that was like. You didn't like to close your eyes.
And I'll ask you to soften your gaze. You don't close your eyes. I'll ask whichever one feels comfortable for you.
Right. And I think I noticed as I was doing the breathing, I think I noticed that my shoulders and my legs were kind of tight, that my muscles were tight. So I was glad when you said focus on relaxing those muscles. Yeah. I like that. Somebody said in the chat there, said I wasn't ready to open my eyes. So sometimes people aren't ready to open their eyes. They're like, let's keep it. Yeah, because I don't know if we take out time to have those moments, to go back to what Courtney said earlier about to have moments of peace and still and quiet. Right.
I've talked about being able to cultivate the art of doing nothing. And it's a lot harder than you think it is. Nothing means you put your phone down, you turn everything off, just 10 minutes and simply do nothing. And it's almost like, so there are 7 pillars of mindfulness. And one of them is a beginner's eye. So if you think about just being a baby and the way that, an infant is just, amazed by him or her hands, just being able to become curious about nothing, just where you are. So.
Yeah. I love that. Even with the hand, I saw somebody when they did a mindfulness technique one time, it really was about the hand. Let's look at our hand and mindfully, like literally they can be a mindfulness technique, right? To just focus on your hand, even looking at the lines and focus, what do we see? And then just what it was like. People might say, what is it? Why am I focusing on my hand? Well, it just gets you to be aware. Gets you to be aware and just notice and pay attention. It's almost like somebody was telling me recently to understand, like, what is your relationship with yourself? I'm like, oh my goodness, our relationship with myself. What is that? What does that mean? How do I treat myself? We like our hairs. You're like, yeah, like I have a relationship with my hair. I take care of my hair, right? That's important to me. But do we do that for ourselves, right? As our person.
I like that. I was reading something, and we talk a lot, especially now, about gaslighting, right? But how many of us gaslight ourselves? Talk bad about yourself, or I shouldn't have done that, or why am I thinking that, or I'm being selfish. But are you? And sometimes we talk to ourselves worse than what we would talk to someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Absolutely.
And I think one thing with that exercise too, it allows you to recognize how long a breath actually is.
Yes.
That's good.
Because oftentimes, like you said, we don't breathe correctly. So when having to do this type of exercise, it's like, oh, I'm really not doing it correctly. Because I think when you instruct somebody from the bottom of your feet to the crown of your head, then they can picture that. And that means the air has to move through from the bottom all the way up to the top. So taking the time for that, I think is something that's important too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree, because sometimes we may just say, do deep breaths, get control of your breath. And even the kids to the adults are like, no, that's not what, okay, let's kind of get some practice. So yes, thank you for walking us through that. Thank you for
yes, thank you.
Good. Yeah.
And I will say this, that your breath work can also bring about a different brain state. So we didn't do it this time, but extending the exhale will help regulate your system too. It's like tapping your nervous system on the shoulder and saying, okay, you can calm. So if you're inhaling to a 4 count, you exhale to a 6 count. The exhale is extended to increase that feeling of being okay. So.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard people talk about. When we exhale, the exhale should be longer than the inhale.
Yes.
Right? You inhale, and I heard you say hold it. I know some people do the hold it, and then exhale really slowly. Yes. And that should be slower and take longer than what it took when you inhale. Yes. I love it. Man, we could probably go for about another 30 minutes, hour probably. This is just an excellent conversation. We might need a part 2 at some point. But any closing remarks, if you want to leave people with something about restoring their mind and body through anything, meditation, mindfulness, grounding exercises, however, what would be some closing thoughts, Courtney?
Yeah, so I would definitely say you can do it first. Yeah. Everybody can do it. It's about finding which thing works for you. So with that, try everything. So you can see what works best for you. And again, it's really about finding peace. We don't recognize how important that is to be able to function day to day. And simply breathe. I think would be the two things that I would say. That is what this is about. Simply breathe and come back to yourself.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Courtney. Tanya, closing remarks.
I like that. Just let it be whatever it is. Just be. You don't have to make it be about one thing or another thing. Don't put guides to it. I think we get messed up when we begin to set up rules and regulate whatever it is we want to do. Just allow there to be a natural unfolding and whatever, and being able to trust your inner wisdom. You have to be able to listen to that. So I'll say that, just being able to allow things to be whatever it is.
Like being okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay with that. It's almost, I love that. That feels like this non-judgmental, self-compassionate stance. You know, just have some passion and love ourselves. So like do what works. We're saying do what works to find peace, breathe, trust your inner wisdom. So that's under assumption that we all have some inner wisdom on the inside of that. So that's awesome to know we all have that inner wisdom. So try to connect with that and just do what works. I love it. I love it. I appreciate you all being here, sharing your expertise, sharing your knowledge, all of that. Thank you so much for being on, Courtney and Tanya. And if you all don't mind kind of staying on just for a few minutes here as we close out. But again, thank everybody for joining us for this Mindful Minute Conversations series. And we usually try to do this once a month. So the next time that we're going to do it is going to be February the 7th. So typically it is the first Monday of the month. Of course, the first Monday of this month was still kind of around the holiday time. So we chose to do it the second Monday in January. But next month on February 7th, we're going to be talking about adverse childhood experiences and understanding trauma. And then in March, on March 7th, we're going to be talking about suicide prevention and the importance of early intervention in the Black community. So we're going to be continuing these very important conversations that are pertinent to our community in ways of really helping people navigate these different times. So again, thank you all for talking to us about these excellent ways of restoring our mind and body through meditation, yoga, and music. All right, we'll see you all next time. And panelists, please stay on.